Every startup and every product needs a name, but what makes a good name and how to find one? That's what we cover in this video. So let's just dive right in. Over the last few years, I started a lot of projects and even startups, and every project needs a new name. And I want to show you now my process how to come to a new startup name. I think the hardest part for every online business or every product that is distributed online is to come up with a name where the domain is still available. And there are a lot of domain endings. There are .com domains, there are .io, .app, but there are also your kind of country local domains. For example, .de for Germany or .fr for France. If you want to start a business that acts internationally, .com is still the best option to go. But it's also the hardest to find available domains. If I just want to promote my local services, for example here in Germany, .de would be also fine for me. When I want to check which domain is available, I often use the tool Domainer. You can reach it under domainr.com. You just type in the name that you want to search for and instantly see all the domains that are available. Let's say, for example, I want to start a new tool called Easy Messenger, and I see that .com and .net are already taken, but I could also go with, for example, .io or .de if I want to do it locally. And if you try out a lot of names, you see very fast that it's very hard to come up with a name where the .com domain is still available, but also it's not that easy to come up with a good name where .io or .app domains are still available. So if we think now about the name, what really makes a good startup name? And for that, I came up with a few rules. The first rule would be the simpler, the better. You want your customers or everybody who gets to know about your product or your startup to remember the name. And the simpler the name, the easier it is to remember the name and to recall it later. So make it as simple as possible. The second one would be easy to write. Because it's so hard to find available domains, people often try to write words differently to get an available domain. For example, if I want to name my startup Easy Messenger, as we had previously in the example, I could also come up with the idea to write easy in a different way, let's say with an I instead of a Y. And that way the .com domain is still available. But because we have this rule, easy to write, if I now tell people, hey, my startup is Easy Messenger, just go to easymessenger.com. Of course, people wouldn't write easy the way I intended it to be written. And then I've seen a lot of startups that then also tell people, yeah, it's Easy Messenger, but easy with an I instead of a Y. And because this is so annoying and so exhausting to tell this all the time, I would recommend you to avoid this from the beginning and make your startup name easy to write for everybody that hears it for the first time. And the next rule would be easy to pronounce. If you're in a space where you have a lot of complicated words, very technical, very special in your certain niche, choose words where everybody knows how to write them and also how to pronounce them if they read your startup name written on the paper. The next thing you want to check is competition. And the best place to see competition is Google. If people are searching for your product or startup name on Google, you want your startup or your product to come up in the first few search results. In the best case, on top. And if you have a very generic startup name where already a lot of search results on Google, it would be a lot harder for you to reach the top. So search for a desired startup name on Google, and if there are only a few thousand search results, that's good. But if there are millions or billions search results, it would be a lot harder for you to reach the top. And the last thing to consider is, can your startup name or your product name be protected? Every country has a brand register. And if you register your startup name there, you can make sure that nobody else except from you can use your startup name for a product or a service. Every country has a brand register. And if you register your startup name there, you can make sure that nobody else except from you can use your startup name for a product or a service. For example, here in Germany, I could go to the website of the DPMA. I can just insert the name that I want to search for and see if somebody else already registered that name. And if somebody already did and Also, for the same sector that I want my startup to be in, I would unfortunately need to choose another name. So essentially, these are the points I consider when choosing a startup name. Make it as simple as possible, make it easy to write, make it easy to pronounce, check your competition on Google, check if you can protect your startup name or if it's already protected, and see if all the domains are available, and also consider which domain you want to have for your startup name. What are your most important points when thinking about a startup or a project name? Write that in the comments below, and see you in the next one. Bye.